This is the Real Change Wilmington podcast, episode 80, Dubtown Soccer Club of Clinton County, with our guest today, Josh Perez.
If you scrape away the soccer and you scrape away everything, is can you provide kids with an opportunity to succeed and be better? I'm just the person in that soccer space at the moment. You know, there were people before me and there'll probably be people after me. I want this club to be here a very, very long time. That's 50, 60 years from now or whatever, and the club is still going. I will be happy that the opportunity is still there to give kids that chance.
What is going on, everybody? This is your host of the Real Change Wilmington podcast, Dustin Pierce. Real Change is a positive, constructive, and lighthearted source of local news, events, and resources. On our podcast, we interview leaders of local organizations to help squash rumors and encourage a greater sense of pride in our community. We have a great episode for you today with our guest, Josh Perez, who is the founder and coach of Dubtown Soccer Club. You may know Josh from Dorado Mexican Restaurant out on Rombach Avenue in Wilmington, which his family owns and operates. Josh is a graduate of Wilmington High School, and he also currently helps coach the Wilmington High School soccer team. If you didn't know, Wilmington High School's soccer team went undefeated in their regular season this year for the first time in school history, and were the league champions for the second time in the last 3 years. Prior to starting Dubtown Soccer Club, Josh also taught lessons for local children in soccer, but wanted a way to be more a part of their development. He also started to notice his son excelling in soccer and wanted to create a team for players to advance and grow. Dubtown Soccer was created as part of the Miami Valley Youth Soccer Association. Their 2025 fall team was made up of 16 students from Clinton Massie, East Clinton, Hillsboro, Miami Trace, Wilmington Christian, and of course, Wilmington City Schools. What I love most about our talk with Josh is that he just has a passion for creating a positive and supportive environment where his kids are encouraged to express their creativity out on the field. So with that, let's bring in our guest and get this podcast started. Joshua Perez, welcome to the Real Change podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Before we get into your club, we're going to get to know about you a bit. So why don't you start by just telling us where you're from and what brought you to Wilmington?
So I was born in Kentucky, and when my parents, they currently own El Dorados, when they found an opportunity to come here, we moved here in 2000, right before my sister Brianna was born.
And are you married? Do you have kids, and what do they do?
Yeah, I'm married to Kirsten. She had 2 little boys before I met her. They were 10 and 4 at the time. Tanner is now 16, almost 17, and Cannon is 10. And we have a little boy named Beckham. He's 3.5. And we're actually welcoming a little girl in 3 or 4 weeks, depending on when she decides to come.
Yeah, that's
very,
crazy.
very exciting.
That's awesome. How did you guys meet?
Very funny. So I work at the restaurant, obviously, and every week I have to go to Kroger to get supplies. Well, she was one of the people, you know, I'm always one that I'm drawn towards nice people. And she was one that was always super kind, super nice. And there were several people at the time that weren't always so nice when I went to Kroger. And I'm like, okay, well, I always look for her. Well, super funny because she thought I was older than I was at the time. So when she actually had talked to me in the line, for whatever reason, I brought up my car that I had just bought a new one. And she was like, do you have like a family? And I was like, no, actually, like I just separated from a girlfriend, you know, and everything. Oh, okay. And you can see her kind of stand a little bit taller.
What about me?
Yeah, that's super funny. So she came in later that week into the restaurant, her and a friend.
Coincidence.
Yeah. Well, she actually had asked for my ID. She didn't believe. They began the conversation talking about one of the waiters and asking about him and his age, if he had kids, if he was married. And then they kind of slightly moved the conversation onto me, you know, very well planned.
Yeah.
And, yeah, they didn't believe me, so I actually had to go get my wallet because I left it in my bag at the time. When handed her my ID, and she about spit her drink out. It was really funny, actually, really, really funny. Well, it didn't scare her away, I guess, because here we are, you know, 6.5 years later, married and with 4 kids, almost basically 4 kids.
Yeah.
So it's been a really, really great time too, because we started in August of 2019 talking, and then shortly after you have COVID. So COVID, where everyone's locked in, doors and you can't go anywhere. It's a very good way to test the relationship, whether or not it's going to work or not. You really learn a lot about each other. Especially, we got COVID a couple times, so we actually had to quarantine together. I was like, well, this is great. So, we learned a lot about each other, watched a lot of TV shows, I learned a lot about the kids. They learned a lot about me.
Mm.
And honestly, just being patient with me, adapting to dating someone with kids. I had never done that before. So taking that on board, everything that navigates through with their parents or their other dads as well. And my maturity level needed to go up.
Yeah.
My example from my dad was a phenomenal one, but it wasn't what she was looking for in a partner. So I only had one example to learn from. So I had to bend and mold and shape myself to learn how I needed to parent or how she wanted me to parent and how we could co-parent as time went on. It was a evolutionary thing, as we go through steps. Every year was a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more on board. The boys trust me a little bit more. And that comes to, from making sure that we do things the right way. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't taking things away from them as well, as much as giving to them. They, anything can happen and you don't want a kid to get hurt. And that's always my first thought process. So especially in the beginning, you never know how things are going to go. And I think she would tell you the same thing. You don't never know how things are going to go. So I was always worried of overstepping in the beginning. It actually helped when we got pregnant with Beckham. Sometimes the stress and everything of her doing almost everything by herself was getting to be a lot. And I said, look, that was a big piece because I said, okay, just allow me some of the responsibility, take ease your burden. You're not by yourself anymore. You're not handling everything on your own. And it actually helped things a little bit more. And the boys actually connected even stronger than what I thought we could. Get closer. So
I'm sure she's used to those responsibilities herself. So kind of telling her like, hey, I can do some of this and getting her to trust you.
Even to this day, 6.5 years later, married and kids, she still has the mindset that she has to do everything on her own. And it's built into you. If you are used to doing things on your own and you're used to not people showing up and helping, that's what happens. And it's so funny because I always tell her, just tell me and I'll do it. Like, just tell me what you need. Because I won't hesitate to help her. It's I always tell everyone like the opinion of my wife and my kids is the only one that matters to me. I will be in the restaurant dancing or singing or goofing around. And, when I was in my teenage years, I was always so embarrassed to do anything. I always cared about everyone else's opinion. But it's very good because with her and with the boys, I don't care anymore. It's only their opinion. So if someone thinks I'm silly or whatever, it's I enjoy it. I do everything because of them. I try to live a healthy life because of them. So, and the best thing to do is not only physically, but mentally and trying to enjoy. And that's always why I'm looking after her too, because of that. I want her to make sure that she's not stressing too much and she's not, taking too much on board because God knows she did it for a long time by herself. So,
yeah. Well, that's pretty awesome. She definitely noticed that you were a catch, and she came after you.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know so much about that. I think she was very patient. I'll tell you, she was very, very patient. I was definitely not. And even today, I'm still learning every day. We're still all learning together. It was an adjustment, I'm learning, and then especially even when Beckham came, when he was born, you're talking about. I think at the time Tanner was 12, 13. Cannon is, 7 or 8 years old and newborn as well. So you have 3 different stages that you're trying to navigate and somehow learn how to parent at all 3 different stages and also take care of things at home and manage how everything else is going. And then at some point, I decided to go crazy and create a soccer club as well, just add more to our table, so it's a fun journey. I enjoy it. My days are much more fuller now than they ever have been, but I enjoy life more than I ever have as well. When my days were empty, I was more depressed and with no purpose. And now every day I know what I have to do when I wake up and the things that I have to accomplish and why I'm doing it too.
Yeah. I think guys especially need like a family, need kids to take care of, and need like a business, a hobby,
I really believe that. Yeah. I mean, not only to have my own kids, but to have my players as well.
Mm.
I'm constantly, even at right now, we're doing winter sessions at Waterville and Mason, and I only have so many of my players with me. I think only 9 or 10 of them are with me at the time. So out of the 16, and I have a couple new players that are coming on board. So I'm constantly talking to people, constantly sending messages saying, "Hey, how is such and such? How is X player doing?" And I haven't seen them for 7 weeks. They're doing okay. One of the players, his parent recently had a big health scare. So I'm texting, his mom and trying to make sure he's okay, trying to make sure that the player is okay. Because mentally, you can see, you almost take a extra parenting role on board. One of my players, he was in the middle of moving from where he is to a whole nother school district. And in the fall, I brought on an assistant. His name is Daniel Weiss. And we, looking at 16 players, sometimes I don't catch everything, even if I'm looking at the same picture. So he actually brought it up to me. He said, X player doesn't look himself, doesn't look like how he did in the spring. He doesn't look explosive and as happy. And I'm like, I wonder if it's something we're doing. So I actually had a one-on-one conversation with him. He said, well, actually, like, I really enjoy this. He's like, I just don't know what's going on because I'm going to have to move school districts. So you can see how much it affects people. And you take almost a carrying role for them. Because obviously, the playing part is second. You're helping develop them physically with a sport. But our biggest rules of the club is, I always tell the players, I don't mind if you lose the ball. I want you to take risks. I enjoy you taking risks. I enjoy you showing me your imagination, no matter what part of the field you're at. Express yourself. If you give me a good effort, a good attitude, and give me your attention, I'll give everything to you. So, those rules apply even outside. So give a good effort, give yourself a good attention.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that I want to help them develop outside as well.
Yeah.
Because being an assistant at the high school, I can see things that my players do that even some of the high schoolers don't do yet. We're at the point right now where, I'll give you a good example. After practices and after games, my players, they go collect all the balls, put it in a soccer bag, all the cones, the corner flags after games. They do everything. I don't have to say anything because the players from the spring, they learned it. When the fall time came, I said it in the first week of preseason, and they didn't have to say it again.
Yeah.
Because they're willing to help, because when they help, we give them the energy. We'll give them the energy regardless, but they notice the difference. They notice that, hey, these people care for us. Coach Weiss and Coach Josh, they care for us. They're going to give us everything if we give them something. And that's all I ask for them. Whether we win or lose the game, that's another inspiring thing. Winning or losing the game, in the middle of it, it doesn't matter. They still give us the same energy. They still fight no matter the scoreline. They give us the same go. Sometimes you have teams or players that if they're down 1 or 2-0, you can see their heads kind of drop and they don't give you the same energy and the same effort. These kids, no matter what, if they're winning by a lot or if they're losing by a lot, they give you everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that corresponds with us. I always tell them, if you give me everything, I'll give you everything. And they do. They're a really, really good, great group of kids.
What inspired you to start Deptown Soccer Club?
I saw my son playing in the rec soccer program here. And, the rec soccer program does such a phenomenal job of bringing kids from really, really young ages. I can't remember when they start. I think they might start kindergarten or first grade, but they go all the way up to 8th grade. And they do such a phenomenal job of bringing everyone on board and everyone together and getting them enjoying the sport, getting them playing an organized sport, getting them outside. How important is it to get kids outside nowadays with everything drawing them indoors?
Mm-hmm. I
was watching my son play fall of 2023. He just came alive. It was spring of 2023. He lost in the last game, didn't win a trophy, was right at that point in time where they get old enough where not every person gets a trophy.
Wow.
And I remember him being extremely upset and crying for a couple of days about it.
Good for him, right?
And that was my thought process. But fall time comes around, 2023, first game, because I hadn't been at any of his practices or anything. First game he comes and he tells me in the car, he says, "We're going to win this title." And I'm like, well, here I am, like, trying to think back to the spring, like, no, no, just enjoy yourself. The whole point of it is to enjoy. No, no, I don't want to go through that again. I want to win. Okay, take your time. Man, this kid just something happened in the summertime. I don't know if you watched YouTube videos or what happened, but he just exploded. His mind took over and he scored so many goals. He helped his teammates. Like, he really evolved. It was almost like a maturity shift over summertime. So he was in third grade at the time. So when we jumped to spring, we're like, okay, well, he's too good for third grade because it's second and third. So let's try to push him a little bit. Let's put him in fourth and fifth grade soccer. And barring his size, he was still light years ahead of some of the other players. I'm like, okay, so how do we challenge him again? Because the way it works at rec program currently, in the spring, they're able to group closer in age together because there's more players. In the fall, they have to group things a little bit differently. So they do fourth, fifth, and sixth in the fall. So when he was in the fall of 24, he was in fourth grade. So they group together fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. That's how they do that. I didn't want to jump him a level because obviously the size difference from eighth grade to fourth grade is not good. I don't want him to get hurt. It's not worth that. So I said, okay. So we put him back with his age. And again, it was something that, he almost seemed bored at times because his brain was working so much faster. And then it's hard for him because he would get the ball and he'd pass it to a teammate. He's very giving to want to share it. And sometimes the kids didn't know quite even sometimes what direction they needed to go. And that's the same with any kid. Some kids have a real genuine interest in the sport, and some kids, their parents are just like, here, we want you to do something outside.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw several players like that. That's where Dubtown came. I watched very intensively that season how many players had the same look on that my son had in his face, where it was like, I wish I could get a little bit more from my teammate. I wish my teammates understood just a little bit more. And that's no fault of the players, of the coaches. It's just that the level that the kids were thinking at, those individual players, were so much higher than everyone else around them. So how can we group these kids together? And me and actually the park director, when I actually wanted to go and speak to him first, because I don't want to step on anyone's toes creating a club program. I don't want to endanger his rec program of how, they bring 200, 250 kids into that. I don't want to endanger that. I don't want to harm that, because we obviously, again, first thing that a coach should want to do is to have as many kids playing as possible into the very end and them enjoying that. And if we can somehow help in a little bit of their development, that's obviously the best thing for us. He actually created a list alongside me of players that he knew were probably too talented for rec. And so we just went down the list. I just contacted parents and was like, hey, does your player particularly want to play for us? Do you think that he'd want to do that? Do you think that this date works for you in tryouts? A lot of parents were like, well, we're committed to baseball already. There was 4 or 5 players. We're committed to baseball already. We're not sure about playing yet. Very new project. So people didn't really know too much about it. So that's where the 4 players for the first ever tryout comes in. I was very, very muddy day. 4 players, pop-up goals. I'm like, oh goodness, this is going to be a rough start if this is what this looks like. Somehow we ended up with 9 players in the end to have our first season. And thankfully, because in that time period, playing U10 soccer, it's only 7v7. So we had 2 kids on the bench a lot of times. And even some games, we had a trip up to Botkins, Ohio. It's an hour and a half away from here. And we didn't have any subs on the bench. So, and that happens. At times players can't come to the game for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens often into every team. So it was a big challenge last year going out and trying to compete. But all that success and all that fun that we had in the spring only springboarded us when we announced the tryouts at the end of May for the fall. And kids just kept coming and coming and coming on board. I mean, I was at the point where I was scared because I don't want to cut any player. Any kid that wants to play for Dubtown.
Is there a limit on how many kids you can have?
So in the league, there's no limit as far as, I think you're able to have up to 25 on your roster at this age, but you can only bring 16 to a game. So how do I tell a player and a parent to come try hard, pay the
Mhm.
money, and then I can't bring it to a game? So that was my biggest worry. I'm like, how do I get to that? And I honestly, I'd lost count of how many players had showed up. Ended up being 15 players by the end of it. And I'm like, phenomenal. Okay. What a great number to stop at, because I don't want to ever have to send a kid back.
Right.
Don't want to have to cut anyone. And then we got lucky towards the end of the season. A parent reached out for me from Washington Courthouse, and her son Easton wanted to come on board. So he came on board at the very tail end of the season, played our last league game with us, and played in our last tournament as well. And he fitted in perfectly. He really had a good time with the kids. So he's going to be part of our squad this coming fall, along with any other players that we have during the tryouts, because we have tryouts this coming January. It's really exciting.
So that was like the story of how Dubtown started. It sounds like your son excelled, so you wanted to find other kids who excel and are bored and have a place to play soccer. Where did your passion for soccer come from?
Honestly, I think my dad is from Mexico. So growing up around uncles and cousins, we all played. And even though now where we don't always see each other, I think that my dad putting me in soccer and my mom putting me in soccer in the very beginning, actually at Wilmington Park Rec, I just got inspired. It was a place that I met friends. I wasn't always the greatest at making friends in school, so
Hmm.
expressing myself on the soccer pitch, I made friends more easily there. And it ended up just so happening that some of the kids that were teammates ended up being classmates down the line and down the years. And they've actually created multiple friendships that I've had since kindergarten, first grade that I still have today. So that's been the biggest thing where I've always had some passion for it. I like the freedom of expression. You go into football, into basketball. I think basketball is probably the closest to it with as far as freedom of expression. But baseball, football, and I might be me and my understanding is not great of the sport, but there's not so much freedom of expression with the players. The biggest thing in soccer is that you unify people of every size, shape, culture, age. I mean, I remember being 10, 11 years old, and some kids from the college would come out and some guys from the restaurant would go out, and I'd go out with some of my friends, and we'd all be together playing in the park, playing pickup. Might be 13 versus 15 or, whatever. It was a crazy number, just kicking one ball around. And there's very rarely a sport that does that. The World Cup's coming in 2026 here in this country, and you're going to bring 48 nations together under one tournament, and the whole world's going to be watching. What other sport does something like that? What other sport? I enjoyed the culture of it. I think the family culture.
I could see that. And then you had a cool story about your logo and the name. Where did Dubtown, the name, come from, and the colors and the lion head and stuff?
So Dubtown Soccer Club actually came out of me and my friend Benny Spork. We created Dubtown Soccer Academy back in 2023. So we were building a small space out at a local gym, and we were training kids in small group classes. So he actually created the name. My sister created the logo for Dubtown Soccer Academy. And I was like, okay, I really, really, really enjoy coaching kids. I really enjoy developing kids, but I can't do it in a team sport because we don't have a team yet. What I was seeing was I really enjoyed coaching, and parents and players enjoyed coming to me and with Benny. But then you turn around and we'd give them off every time their season started. You'd have to give kids away. And not always did kids return because they might not have the greatest experience. Whether that coach was so driven on winning games, they didn't really care so much about the players who were undeveloped, or maybe kids just didn't have fun in general. Maybe the coach just wasn't a fit for them. So stopping the academy, I needed to. I kind of found a midway point where I was like, okay, I want to coach a team. When we decided to build the club, we stopped the academy and we're like, okay, well, might as well keep the same names. People know us by now. We had so many people come and train. I think we had over 200 people come and train with us. So they'll recognize Uptown Soccer Club. Then we had to figure out a new logo. Well, I love FC Cincinnati. They're orange and blue. a lot of clubs around here use orange and black, and I wanted to make sure that I really specified that the club wasn't about Wilmington. It was about Clinton County. It was about bringing Massey, Blanchester, Wilmington, all of its surrounding areas, Hillsboro, Miami Trace, everyone together under one club. I didn't want anyone to shy away from wanting to represent us. So I said, okay, Blanchester's blue, Clinton Massie is blue, Wilmington's orange. Let's put all that in a logo.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Dubtown Soccer Club. Then the Lions had it was really funny. We had a kit designer called Saint Athletics, and they actually did logo design. And when they created the logo, I was like, oh, I don't know what to put in the middle of it. I wanted to tie Wilmington in there somehow, but I was like, I don't know how to do that. So I said, well, just find an animal that works. Well, sure enough, we had went to a FC Cincinnati game, and FC Cincinnati has a griffin. So they have a lion. When no one's in the stands, they have an orange line built into the seats of the stands. So I said, well, how about you just create animals? And one of them ended up being a lion that they had done, and they did a side view of the lion. Well, how about you do them roaring? Because I think that would be cool. Sure enough, the logo ended up being this Dubtown Soccer Club with a lion on the chest, and a lot of people love that. I think it was a really cool. It draw people in. It was something that was simple but really stood out as well.
I feel like the lion's mane, looking at it some more, kind of resembles the hurricane zigzag swirl kind of thing.
Never thought about it that way. That actually
just like staring at it some more. Yeah,
that's really funny. Yeah, I never had thought of that way.
Maybe the next iteration it can be like more like that or something
There you go.
down the road. So I have some specific questions now for the club. Maybe we can just rapid fire these ones. What are the age groups that can participate?
So currently we have U11 boys and U12 boys. The U11 will be a brand new team starting in spring. We're going to be taking some of the current players and any new players that come on board in that age bracket and adding them together. It really is inspired from, we had 6 players on our bench this season. So subbing 5 or 6 players constantly, it disrupted the flow of the team, and it was unfair for a player to be sitting for a long period of time. And I don't like that. I want players to come and I want them to play and have fun and enjoy. So we want to break the team up a little bit and give them more opportunities to play, while also saying, hey, if you work hard and you build trust with us and you show that you can play at that next level and that next age, we'll bump you and you'll play extra games at U12. So it's actually a great opportunity for players to have more game time, play more games, and to continue developing.
So you have 2 teams and then affiliations with other local schools. It sounds like you're in every school in the county.
Yeah,
Blanchester.
Except we don't have a player that represents Blanchester yet. I am hoping that somebody comes out from Blanchester, because they have a really, really good group of kids around this age playing at Blanchester State Soccer. Really, really good group of kids, really good parents. Really, I actually had worked with them with Dubtown Soccer Academy. We went out there and did some trainings with them. Me and Benny went out there and helped them for 10 weeks in 2024, sorry. And we really enjoyed it, but I'm one that I'll never go and try to pull a player from a team. If they end up coming to us naturally, that's my biggest thing. Can we do that? I always have a lot of respect for other teams and other organizations. Like I said in the beginning, with the rec program, I went first day to ask permission to make sure I wasn't stepping on anyone's toes. I don't want to upset the balance. If you're doing a great job, which Wilmington Rec is, and Blanchester State is, and Clinton Massie State Soccer is, I don't want to upset your balance.
Yeah. And how many teams are there in the local league? You said Washington Courthouse has a team. Like, how many other teams are there?
So the Miami Valley Youth Soccer Association is made up of teams all over Dayton, north, south, west, east Dayton. We've traveled as far as Greenville, Ohio, Botkins, Ohio. Botkins was in the spring, it's an hour and a half. We went to Greenville to play 2 different teams. That was like an hour and 45 minutes away. We try not to go too far, but obviously the teams in the league, there's nothing we can do about that. If we're playing in a certain division and we're scheduled to play them, we have to find a balance. So it was funny, in the fall time, we had to go up to Greenville, play 2 different teams, but it was scheduled for 2 different dates. So I called both of the teams and I was like, look, is there any way that we can do this where we play on the same day? I said, because we really don't want to make that, hour and a half, hour, 40 minutes drive there, hour, 40-minute drive back 2 times.
Yeah.
I do that 1 time. I can't ask my parents, and I don't want to drive there twice. So that was big for us.
So how many teams about did you play last season?
This past season, we played 8 teams, I believe. 8 teams. So we played 1 team twice. That was First Capital out of Chillicothe. And then we played every other team once. So we played Oakwood United team. They're kind of around Old River, right around UD. We played Greene County Cosmos. So they were around like the Springfield area. We played Springfield Thunder.
I like that Chillicothe's team is named First Capital. Is that like a common thing around there? Or
that's a big thing for them, yeah. And I didn't know about it until after. And I actually asked the club coach, and I asked why they called First Capital, and I learned the history behind it. They actually won the league this year. They're a very, very talented team. And Chillicothe and Unioto, they're both phenomenal high school programs. So that club, they have like a whole soccer complex there, and they grow players up through those, and they end up representing Unioto and Chillicothe high schools. I'm like, it makes sense. Why is the high school program so good? Because you start with the kids in the bottom and you develop them all the way through. That's what Dubtown is trying to do.
And you're the assistant coach for the high school team at Wilmington City Schools?
Yeah, I'm one of the assistants for the boys soccer program currently.
They won some stuff this past season, didn't they? We
just went for the first time. I think the program, I might be wrong here, but I think the program was created in 1968. The first time ever that we went completely undefeated all season. First ever season undefeated. We ended up losing 6-0 to Turpin in, I think it was the second round. Yeah, second round of state tournaments. And Turpin went on to lose in the semifinal of the state tournament. So we didn't do too bad. Turpin has a phenomenal program. They also take kids from little all the way up through. So again, can we aspire? Can we build things like that? Can we get to that level? And I think we can. I think the local talent is good enough to do that.
Yeah. I think it's cool, even if you don't care, if someone else doesn't care about soccer, it's cool that our community has like excellent programs, you know, band as well, like whatever. It's
100%.
like, it's cool that like we have these great programs in the community.
That's the thing. You want to provide kids with an opportunity. If you scrape away the soccer and you scrape away everything, is can you provide kids with an opportunity to succeed and be better? I'm just the person in that soccer space at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
There were people before me, and there'll probably, be people after me. I want this club to be here a very, very long time. There'll be a point where I'm not part of the club. If that's 50, 60 years from now or whatever, and the club is still going, phenomenal. I will be happy that the opportunity is still there to give kids that chance. And like you said, the band program is phenomenal. My siblings, several of them have been through the band program, and some of them are in the band program now. What more can you ask than to get kids out and inspire them? I think that's the biggest thing. Give them confidence. You have all the social media nowadays where it takes the confidence away from kids. It gives them a false sense of what reality can look like if kids get bullied, or kids don't have the same equal opportunities, or they see kids doing better off or worse off. Having them be able to get outside and express themselves and show their imagination and give them confidence to do so, and say, hey, look, doesn't matter if you give the ball away. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake. We're going to get another opportunity, and you're going to get another opportunity. Think things don't bend or break just because you fall down. There's another opportunity to continue growing and stand back up again.
Yeah. What's the fee involved with the program?
Currently, it's at $350 a season. So that's $350 for the spring and $350 for the fall. We are trying to go through a cost analysis. I was trying to run things as tightly as I could to try to keep parents, and not just on board, but keep it more affordable for parents. Because I know myself, paying bills and everything, it's getting to be expensive anywhere in the country. But I'm quickly finding out in the spring and in the fall and this winter, I'm taking money out of my own pocket to try to pay for things. And, having a new baby come out here in a few weeks, and, having a house and a mortgage and all the other bills, it's just not possible for me to continue doing that. I was trying to bring other local sponsorships on board, and we've tried that. But so many people, again, this is a football town. So they're very quick to pay and give money to football programs. They're so hesitant to try to give it to soccer programs. And I think the bigger that we grow things, I think it'll definitely help.
More you know, more you stick around.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know, that's the biggest thing is do people believe in our reach? You know, for them giving us the money, are they giving a fair trade for their reach? And I think that we are able to do that now. I mean, we're getting 34 to 35,000 a month in reach on Facebook and Instagram. We post a lot in the groups and everything, so we're definitely showing people's brand out there. You know, every post that I post, when I do that editing, I use an app to help edit, you know, rosters and everything else leading up to games and after games. As far as the results, and all the logos get posted on the bottom, so people see who supports us. But it's hard to run the club. I'm learning everything. I'm learning the business side, the coaching side,
it's only 1 year so far. Right? Only 2 seasons in 1 year.
So it's a lot of fun, actually, because I always wanted to go to college to be part of the business side of sport, specifically soccer. And I never went. I never took the opportunity when it was presented to me years ago. When I decided to go, COVID happened. And then I had met my wife shortly before that. So everything balances its way out. Now I have a phenomenal family and a phenomenal club, and I get to learn on the job, basically, the business side of sport and the coaching side. So a lot of fun. I everything I've aspired and wanted to do, I'm doing it without the college degree, but really trying to learn how to swim by jumping off the pier into the ocean, right? So that's really the kind of thing it's been a fun adjustment.
Yeah. I feel like not having a college degree pushes a lot of people to excel. It's almost like they have to prove something to the world, like in some way. So like it pushes them to be more successful, I feel like, than having that degree. That kind of gives you that validation. Like you have to have actual validation, you know?
100%. And I think with the club as well, it was important that we set the right culture and the right mindset too. I enjoy the coaching part, but being the owner of the club is even more important to me, because bringing on the right assistant coaches, bringing on the right sponsorship and partnerships, having those conversations, knocking on those doors and those opportunities, it matters to me who comes on board. It matters to me who comes and watches the kids. It matters who comes and be parts of their lives in our soccer environment. You know, I mentioned earlier the Wilmington College men's program. We went in the spring, and the players actually put on a training session for the kids. So the 9 kids that we had, they put on a whole training session, and we built that partnership with the men's soccer college program and our boys soccer program. Then they came and watched some more games. The kids stood 15 feet tall those days playing. They played out of their socks. You know, going into the fall, the men's program obviously has their season, but we went and watched some of their games. They came and watched some of our games. We went and walked out with them a couple times. They played against against Capital University, sorry. First Capital's on my brain. They played against Capital University, and our players walked out with them. And our kids were sitting in the stands chanting, and it had been years since they had beat Capital University, and they cruised to like a 4-1 victory that day.
Nice.
Wilmington College. So there's it's massive. I want us to reach things. I want to give these kids opportunities. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with, can we build a better generation of people before the player as well?
Yeah. It's cool that obviously there's pretty direct connections with this club and a high school, but it's cool that the kids had an opportunity to see college players. You know?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, being an assistant at the high school is actually great. A lot of my players will come out and watch the high school play as well. They know my schedule. They have my schedule on board. It's really funny. In the fall, around August 10th, they always do the alumni game. So I play as an alumni against my oldest son, who's a varsity player. I had the whole team there watching coach try to run around the field, huffing and puffing, running around the field.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Really, really fun.
Did you beat him?
I can't remember actually this year. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember what happened this year. They might have beat us this year, I think.
Yeah.
I think they did beat us this year. So far in his 3 years, this is junior this year. So far in his 3 years, we've beat them, we've tied them, and they've beat us. So
That's good.
we're 1-1-1. So I told him this coming year I have to get in better shape to win the game.
Yeah.
I don't want to let him have one over
Break
on
the
me.
tie. Yeah.
He'll talk about that the rest of his life if he
Can't
beats
have
me
that.
this year. You
Can't
know, I
have that.
can't have
Yeah.
that, you
No,
know.
not at all.
Having the majority of the players represent Wilmington or Massey. So it's been really cool because when we had games where Massey came to Wilmington and vice versa, when we went to Massey, we had kids in the stand at both home and away for us. And you can't beat that. You know, these kids are going to grow up being friends
Mm.
throughout their whole high school career. And at some point they'll have kids. And at some point, if they still live here, their kids might play for the club, being part of the original team. That does give me goosebumps at times. You know, my ego doesn't go into winning games or developing players. My biggest thing is, can we have kids enjoy the game long enough where they want to get to the point where they want to develop enough where we can be part of their development. If they go on from U10, they go all the way through high school and they play and they enjoy and they become the best versions of themselves, person to person as a player, and they go off and sign for college, then I will stand 15 feet tall, because not so much that, yeah, it was me that did that. It's, I will be so proud of these kids. And to think beyond that their kids potentially one day could play for the club. I just think that that's a whole nother part of community and a whole nother part of why the club has been so important, tying all these people, all these kids together.
Yeah. So we talked about challenges, we talked about proudest accomplishments. Is there any maybe stigmas against the club or against like soccer clubs in general?
I don't know,
In general.
I always try to make sure that we're a community club. I want the club to work alongside the SAFE programs, work
Hmm.
alongside the rec program. We are not by ourselves in this pyramid. We want to provide the opportunity if a player gets to the point where they become mature enough, where they, in their own heads, have decided, I want to take the next step. I'm so big on that. The rec program has its place. The safe soccer has its place. I don't want either one of those to ever be erased.
Yeah. Sounds like one of the biggest stigmas is just like you value all the teams, like you value the rec, the say, and it's like you're not trying to steal kids from those teams. You give a different place. It's a different place for kids. Anything else you want to touch on about the club before we kind of get into some closing questions?
Just I'm just happy that the support from the local community has been really great. I love having people, they're starting to notice the club more. I have people come up to me, and notice me from the club, where they go, "Hey, aren't you the one running the club? Like, I hear good things about it." And I love that. I love that our reach has gone so far. You know, I keep bringing Wyatt up, but the fact that we had a kid out of he doesn't live locally, he lives in the Massey area. They don't come to Wilmington that often. His older brother plays for the state premier team at Massey. For our reach to have gone that far, to have bring a kid 15, 20 minutes away to come play for us, and what a phenomenally genuine kid, by the way. For us to do that, I really love it, because we're tying more communities together, which is what the whole idea of it is. Yes, there's a rivalry with Wilmington and Massey, and there'll be a rivalry on the day when these kids all go and play high school soccer 3 or 4 years from now, when they're up there and they're competing against one another. There'll be a rivalry on that day. But before the game, they'll be shaking hands and be hugging, and they'll be like, "You ready?" Because I'm ready to go. And it's going to be one of the most entertaining games.
Hmm.
Having them, thankfully, we get to have a home and away. So we'll get to watch it multiple times this season. It'll be really, really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's a quote or a piece of wisdom that's helped guide you that you'd want to share with other people?
I don't know if this ties to that, but something that I always tell the players, what helps me in my coaching, and what helps, I think, give confidence to the players, where I go, I've never watched a team or a player. I've been watching for a long time. I'm 29 years old. I've been playing and watching soccer probably for 25, 26 years, I would say. So in doing that, I've never seen a player or a team not lose the ball. I've seen teams play what some consider the right way, what some consider the wrong way. I've seen players be selfish. I've seen players be unselfish and still get good or bad results, no matter what happens. So for me, the biggest thing is, can we give you a platform to go on and use your imagination? Can we provide a structure behind you, whether that's the structure on the field or the structure of the organization as far as the whole club is involved and the parents involved? Can we push you forward and allow you to express yourself on the field? And these kids do things that I definitely can't coach them to do. I mean, we had Rowan scored a goal from the halfway line in one of the preseason games. He literally chipped the goalkeeper, and I would have never thought that he could have done that, or that I would have never coached him to do that. I would have coached him to pass the ball or to take the player on that was in front of him. He shoots the ball from the halfway line. It's one of the best goals I've seen these kids ever score. I'm like, unbelievable. But that's imagination coming from him. That's his drive from that. Don't really know quote, but that's kind of where it comes from.
Yeah. And you provide that foundation for them to do that and express themselves in that way. That's cool. Last question. Obviously, you're very involved in the community. Your family's very involved. What would be a positive, real change that you'd like to see in Wilmington or Clinton County?
You know, could we back the kids a little more? You know, there isn't, you know, I feel like teachers do their roles, you know, schools to a point do their roles. You know, we have coaches that do their roles, parents that do their roles, but no one is really working together. Can we back the kids a little more? Can we give them more positive places to grow, places to build on their confidence and on themselves as people? We're constantly sitting at different tables when we go about a problem. Why can't we solve the problem? I think that's the beautiful thing about this country is we can take a problem, sit it in front of a table, and have points of view from all ages and all cultures and all parts of the world, and try to go at that problem from different angles. And I think that would make things a lot easier if Wilmington actually worked together, if Clinton County worked together. You know, there's a lot of problems here in this county regarding, you know, the kids an opportunity whether that be at the schools or whether that be out in public. You know, we have an epidemic of kids maybe getting into trouble because they might not have this opportunities to do anything other than that. I feel like if we could all kind of come together and try to solve that problem.
Yeah, I agree. But we definitely need more programs for our kids. Be positive. They have cell phones, you know, because they're on their cell phones. Like you said, it's like we need clubs, we need things for them to be involved in, positive experiences to support them.
I guess, man, the kids are so great. I encourage you guys to come out in the spring, barring the winter weather that we're going to have or the rain that we'll have, to come and see the expression on the kids' faces. You know, even if you don't know nothing about soccer, you can see how much joy they have playing.
That's awesome. How can people best get in contact with you if they want to join a team or learn more?
So we have Facebook and Instagram. The Facebook is probably the best opportunity. You can message the club and it goes straight to my phone.
You have tryouts coming up in January?
Yes.
The spring team?
So we have tryouts on January 14th and 15th.
2026?
Yes. So they're from 6 to 8. They're going to be at the indoor college turf. So right over there where the Dreher building is. It's when you go in, it's straight in.
Nice. Well, thanks for being on our podcast. Thanks for what you do with the club soccer.
I appreciate it, man. Honestly, like, what's an opportunity that I heard about, and I'd heard more about Real Change and wanted to try to outreach to more people. I know there's still tons of people in the community that don't know about us, and I feel like we're making such a nice, positive impact. I hope that more people, again, goes back to that Wilmington question and the community question, where if I can get more people, whether it's involved with the club or not, at least just coming to support and watch the games, how much more positive can we impact not only our players and our club, but then the community as well. So,
yeah, appreciate that positive change you're having in the community.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Well, that's it for our podcast today. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Josh Perez, founder and coach of the Dubtown Soccer Club. If you have any more questions or ideas for him, please feel free to reach out directly. If he will talk to us dorks, he will certainly talk to you as well, because after all, we are a community of empowered individuals. If you want to get in touch with Real Change Wilmington or share your story, you can contact us on our website, realchangewilmington.com, visit our Facebook or Instagram pages, or grab a free copy of our local newspaper at Kroger, Sam's Meat, and Fiesta Veracruz. We also currently send our free local newspaper direct mail to over 2,500 Wilmington residents every month. So if you want to help us cover our printing costs and advertise your local business, event, or job posting, please email advertise@realchangewilmington.com. With that, I'm your host, Dustin Pierce. Keep it real, Wilmington.